Stories that are untold, underreported, and all-out inspirational. Carey Pena reports.
Hi, everyone. I'm Carey Pena. Thank you so much for listening to Carey Pena Reports on iTunes and Stitcher, and for watching our shows on Facebook and YouTube. You can always find us at Inspired Media 360, and be sure to subscribe at inspiredmedia360.com. In studio with us today, model, spokesperson, and MS advocate Camerone Parker. Camerone, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Carey. Delighted to be here.
You have an incredible story to share. Your journey is something, you got to write a book. I've been telling you that before we started to tape.
Forthcoming, hon. Forthcoming.
You have only recently started telling the whole story about your illness, which we're going to get to in just a second, and how you kept it a secret because you were so afraid that you would lose this big, shining career. And also how you made a career comeback, because this is important advice for folks who are feeling down and out, or maybe like they're not going to be able to realize their dreams. So a lot to get to.
You got it.
Let's start with you were a big model. Your career was booming, and then all of a sudden one day something happened.
Something happened. Actually, it's kind of ironic how I was diagnosed. Myself and 4 other models, we were on set. And happened to be in Los Angeles, where my home was. I was all over the world and traveling, so I was so happy to be working on set. And 4 of us, all of a sudden, within 24 hours, we were all rushed to the hospital. All of us were very, very, very sick. And all of us came down with, had contracted some form of meningitis. Unfortunately, mine went huge into spinal meningitis, and it was the most painful thing I'd ever gone through. So with that, I was in the hospital for several weeks. I had to have a spinal tap. I had all these unusual things. And the neurologist that was assigned to my case actually said, you know, there's some things that are showing up in a couple of these tests. I want to make sure the meningitis has left your body completely, and then I need to retest you on a few things. I'm thinking, okay, fine. Get through my bout of meningitis, get to a good state where I had a little bit of time to go and see this doctor and have a bunch of tests. And he calls me in and says, I need to come after I've got all your test results, but I need you to come in and sit down in front of me. And you kind of go, where did I fail?
Yeah. It's scary getting a call like that.
Exactly. And it was him. It wasn't his nurse or his medical assistant. It was him personally calling. And so made a trip down there and sat across from his desk, and he looked at me and he said everything. I answered just a few questions, last remaining questions. Was I tired? Did I have fatigue? Did I have numbness? Did I trip a lot? And I said, well, yes, I'm on and off airplanes. Of course I'm tired, you know, and if I'm going to trip, have you seen the shoes I have to walk a runway in? Every once in a while it may happen. So one of the things I answered all of them to what I thought were perfectly fine answers. And he took a step back and he just said, I just have to tell you this, you have multiple sclerosis. And there was like dead silence.
Now, you made the decision to keep your diagnosis a secret.
Correct.
Why?
Actually, at that moment, I drove to my parents' house and needed to talk to my mother and father. And we sat down. I sat down with them, and we just kind of processed the whole thing, thinking, what does that mean? Am I going to be in a wheelchair tomorrow? What am I going to lose my sight? Like, what does that mean? Because multiple sclerosis is such a huge, monstrous, insidious disease. And so we looked at it. We looked at a lot of avenues, took some time, processed it as a family. And then the 3 of us went down and met with my neurologist several days later and said, okay, we're going to fight this. How is this? Because I literally told the doctor, I said, you've just signed my death warrant. No one will hire me knowing I have this. As a model, you don't have medical insurance.
How old were you at the time?
I was 32. And so I'm an independent contractor, so I literally I started running numbers in my head thinking, this disease is so expensive and I'm going to have this for the rest of my life with no medical insurance. So we sat together and mapped out a plan and kept it a secret. I actually kept it a secret up until 2009. I had gotten married in 2002 and had slowed down, and actually was getting ready to slow down a little bit in my career. And at that time, I did get medical insurance, so it was great. But I was noticing that I was coming out of remission. I have relapsing remitting MS, and every once in a while I would have a relapse, and it was getting harder and harder to attend charity events and not have these side effects. I never ever wanted somebody to think I was drunk, ever, and you could have that. And so I had trusted several people. Up until that time, it was pretty much kept a secret within the family, and a few trusted friends. And one of my friends said, I have this great journalist who, this is her thing. And I trusted her with the story, and I thought, now's the time. I think you have to be in the right place and right mind and space to tell your story.
Well, I'm wondering, because a lot of people who are listening and watching might resonate with them on multiple levels, and that is not feeling courage enough to tell your whole story.
Right.
And there's different things that people go through in their lives, and they may not want everyone to know. But tell me about how freeing it was, or perhaps how frightening it was.
It was freeing and frightening, because I had this journalist with me following me and seeing when I had my treatment on a Sunday night and seeing the side effects and really kind of exposing myself. And number one, I didn't want the story to be like fodder. I didn't want anybody to feel sorry for myself. I wanted it to have meaning and purpose.
What was the meaning in telling your story?
The meaning is basically it was a portrait in courage. And I don't care whether you're sick or not, you had to have courage to face every single day. And at that time where I was in my life, I had the courage, and I needed to tell my story, because MS was becoming more and more prevalent. More women we were noticing throughout the United States and throughout the world. We were all getting some type of autoimmune system disease or neurological disease. And a lot of women, 75% of all new diagnoses are women of having MS. So I trusted this writer, and the night before the magazine dropped, that's lingo in print world, I woke up in the middle of the night and I was covered in sweat, and I thought, what did I do? What did I do? I exposed everything. And it was the most freeing moment when the magazine dropped, and I got cards, letters, emails, text messages of support saying, we're so proud of you.
How did that feel, Cameron?
It was like a 100-pound elephant was off my back. I could walk my truth. I could be authentic in every step I took, rather than always being fearful of someone finding out and judging me for that. It was really awesome to have that support, and it kept going. I mean, it was worldwide, and the National MS Society actually approached me saying, you have an incredible story. I mean, you've got this huge secret, and the beauty industry and the fashion industry is all about secrets. Why not tell it? And I tell it through laughter and humor and tears, and I'm very raw, and that's who I am. I love to say, yes, I'm a model. I get to go and play dress up.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And I'm everything. My walk every single day is very raw and authentic.
What was the most painful moment for you?
Oh gosh. I have to say painful from 2009 when I came out is having my MS questioned. Having multiple sclerosis is not like a big, huge beacon sign, doesn't scream neon. No two MS patients are alike. So when someone first judges you just by, well, she doesn't look sick. Well, MS, you don't look sick. You don't look sick. You walk a runway, okay, great, but you don't see me the next day when I can't get out of bed, when I hurt so bad that I cry. You don't see the side effects from the medication. You don't understand that I could go blind, that, I've had 2 cataract surgeries, to correct my vision. They don't see all of that. And so coming forward and telling people that I had multiple sclerosis really kind of broke it all down, saying she's really real.
Your marriage ended up falling apart.
It imploded
in a very dramatic way.
Very sad, dramatic way. I always feel, when you separate, it's up to that person if you want it publicly known or not. And I had separated back in 2010 and just was not prepared to talk about it whatsoever. And
so more secrets.
Oh yeah, and add that on. And so I actually spoke at the Women Against MS event. I was the keynote speaker in 2011, and that date was really big. And it was actually April in 2011, and that date was really big because that was the last time the public saw me for a very, very long time. My health was spiraling out of control. First, the implosion of my marriage, and my health had absolutely declined, both mentally and physically. And you don't understand the power of mental. I don't care if you have any ailments whatsoever. If your mental breaks down, good luck. Good luck. You can't. It's so hard. And I had to tell you, when I was at the bottom, just at the edge of death. And death, I hate to say this, but the Grim Reaper was knocking, and I literally opened the door and I said, "Sweetie, you better change your wardrobe." Because that whole hood look is like so passé, so 1980s,
But you were at that point. You were kind of at the brink.
I was admitted in the hospital in January of 2012, and with very little chance of survival. There was no chance. My body was breaking down.
Did you want to survive?
I did not want to die. I'm going to tell you right now, I had to fight. I had to claw my way. It was the hardest work I ever had to do. It was the hardest task that was ever laid out in front of me. How did this strong, successful businesswoman who built her own empire, how did I get to this point? And let me tell you, it was so hard. I'm so lucky I get to be with a man today that he encourages me by saying, inch by inch is a cinch, by the yard it's hard. And I had to tell you, not every day was just rainy, and it was just clawing my way, fighting my way back to the light, and I did it.
But how did you begin?
First of all, by saying I didn't want to die. That's your first step forward. That's not a step backwards. If you take a step back, that means you're going to be taking a dirt nap. And I didn't want to die. I knew I had it in me. I just kind of didn't know how. As long as I kept trying and not falling down. I know we were talking about this before the show. I always say, you either give up or you get up. And I had to say, I have to get up. I will try to get up 100 times, 1,000 times, and I may fall down 100 times or 1,000 times. But that chance is always there that on that next step, I will be able to get up. It's only when you give up that chance is gone.
So you ended up getting divorced, but you fell in love.
I did. Actually, I had to say it was another freeing thing was being able to survive the brink of hell. I mean, unfathomable hell that I was in, but also do the mental work because I really didn't want emotional baggage when I started dating and thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to start dating again. This is awful. And nobody's going to want me. Nobody's going to want me knowing that you Google me and you're going to find out that I have MS and I have.
You felt broken.
Oh, I was shattered beyond finite sand. There was no putting this vase back together. I had to claw myself out and say, you know what? I'm not going to be a vase this time. I'm going to be the frickin' bouquet. Okay?
Unbreakable.
Unbreakable, exactly. And I'm going to smell it really good, too. But I did the work mentally.
What did you do?
First of all, you surround yourself with a good team. I had great doctors. I had a great therapist. My family and trusted friends never wavered.
Your tribe.
My tribe, yeah, my posse. I had people that believed in me and offered me encouragement saying, okay, if you can get to this point, guess what? I got something for you. And it's not like waving a little magic wand or like, ooh, look what you're going to get. But I had to say it was that competition that's all within. I had to do it.
Yeah, you set markers for yourself and other people helped you do that.
I did. And Meeting Bert Keeter from Project Runway really was life-changing because he said, if you stay healthy enough, I want to use you as my closing model in 2013.
And you were a fan of the show.
Yes, I was a big fan of the show, and I have one of the largest Project Runway collections, and just over and over. And so it's kind of unique that my Project Runway family was part of my tribe, as you said, and has offered me unbelievable, incredible support. Like I mentioned, Bert and Peach Carr from Chicago. Really an honor to be their muse on several of their collections.
And this is all part of your comeback.
Yes.
So you started setting goals. You made a decision.
Right.
You wanted to live. You
I
wanted to be
live,
here.
and I had to claw my way out physically, mentally, and it took a lot of hard work. This is not a lifetime get it done in 2-hour movie. This took several years of hard work because there were some setbacks. There were like, you would have something lobbed at you and you're like, really? Oh, God.
So what was it like getting back up on the runway and becoming the muse for Project Runway?
It was, first of all, clap for the old lady because I'll still tear it out from that. I'm blown away by being a classic model. And, you have girls backstage that are like, oh my gosh, I get to walk with you. Thinking, oh my Lord, I need to take a nap and call Boniva. It was so freeing. And, the belief of having someone said, I know you can do this and I know you love what you do and nobody can walk like you. And I know that sounds very simple and cliche, but when you hear a designer say that, that means they're thinking of you when they're designing. And so having that and having the positive attitude with it was just really incredible. I wasn't quite prepared for all of the really wonderful things, and that I think is kind of childlike in a way that was never broken, that you still have that, oh, it's Christmas kind of feeling.
And now you're planning your wedding in beautiful Sedona.
Yeah.
So what do you think your story says?
First of all, you can't give up. You have to get up and get going because every single day is a new opportunity. A closed mind is the most expensive thing one could own. And you have to seize the day. I think when I was on your show a few weeks ago, I remember saying, you have to suck the marrow out of life. You can't choke on the bone.
Yeah.
And
we all love that.
And just having a partner that sees all of your flaws and thinks that you're flawless.
Are you living your dream right now?
My dream came true in meeting Robert, but my dream came true when I said I don't want to die. That was a changing, profound moment because it spoke volumes to my parents. It spoke volumes to my friends. It authenticated and it basically just verified that I'm a human being and my work on this planet is not done.
You have value.
I value. And when someone stops considering you, that's the toughest, most unbelievable, heartbroken feeling you can think of. And that will shred you worse than a paper shredder.
Well, your story is very striking. As you mentioned, you came on our talk show in the moment, and all the co-hosts loved you. And I just wanted to share more of your story. Do you think you are going to write a book?
I actually have a book in mind. I have a funny follow-up book to it, but I've been approached about it, and so I am giving it some very serious thought. If it can light a fire under someone to not give up, but help them get up, that's the whole message. It could be 100 pages of just don't give up, don't give up, don't give up. Find something positive, find something that motivates you. Look at a color, look at something, look at art. That's what inspiration is around you every single minute of every single day.
Cameron, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome,
Really
Carey.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
And thanks to all of you for listening and watching Carey Pena Reports. Today's show produced and engineered by Shannon Hernandez, brought to you by Inspired Media 360. Until next time, stay inspired.